We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on the Miami Dolphins defense versus the Jets. An inconsistent performance. I know the Jets had 40, but if you're just looking at the box score, you'll think the defense played really, really bad, which they didn't. Like 16 of those points weren't really on the Dolphins defense. 2 coming from a safety. The last 2 touchdowns weren't really on the defense. The first one, they started at the 5-yard line off a fumble recovery, and the second one, the Dolphins were just going for it deep in their own territory because they were down by multiple scores, and then they gave up. They didn't get it, and the Jets got the ball in plus territory again. So I'd say 16 of those points were more on the offense and just the game flow and how the things went. So overall, they had some good, they had some bad. Late in the game, they couldn't stop the run. They ran a lot of cover 3 in this game, which was a little different from them, trying to mix things up. I would like to see them bring more pressure, especially against Zach Wilson. So let's get right into this film breakdown. Okay, we're going to start off with some Kader Kohou. You guys, you know I love Kader Kohou. One of the better plays I was watching during this game. He's just really solid making these open field tackles. You see the closing speed. He's very physical. I love the aggressiveness, competitiveness that he plays with. Running cover 1, they motion across. He has to follow. He sees that it's a quick, bubble to this side. He takes a perfect angle, shows off the closing speed, and then finishes the tackle through the receiver. Just an excellent play. Love seeing this energy that he brings to this team. He's been one of the biggest surprises of the season, I think, and just one of the better defensive players that Dolphins have had. Everyone's had pretty good games at this point on the defense, but I feel like Kohou's been very consistent in every game. I think he had a penalty in this game. It was a pretty ticky-tack, but overall pretty solid performance, especially when he was manning up Garrett Wilson a lot in the slot. The Dolphins defense actually looked pretty damn good in the first half. They were put in some bad spots field position-wise because the safety really threw off the flow of the game, and like right here, they showed this blitz early. They got a sack. When they were put in 3rd and longs, they started blitzing early on, but then they just went away from it, and this was working. This wasn't their typical cover 0, but it's cover 1. They bring pressure. Baker's able to get to the quarterback here, beat the running back. This is one area where you're going to beat Breece Hall. Breece Hall went off against the Dolphins, but Jerome Baker, his best trait is blitzing. He just knocks aside Hall here. Good job taking him on and then using the swim, get the hand of the back, and then show good pursuit to the quarterback. Everyone gets there. Ingram, Phillips create some pressure as well. Just the Dolphins' defense is so much better when they're playing downhill, aggressive, force the quick throws. That's how pretty much every player on the defense thrives in that scenario. The secondary thrives when the ball has to come out quickly. The defensive line are more pressure, twist, stunt type of players. And the linebackers are more blitzers too. So Dolphins defense really needs to rely on that heavy and then mix in some other looks. But now it looks like in the last couple games they've been mixing in more blitzes and then dropping into zone more often, which I just don't think fits the style of their defense. They run like a cover 3 cloud concept here where 2 safeties end up dropping back into be the deep third. Holland goes over to be like the deep third where the corner usually would. Jones comes from the box, plays this deep third. The other corner plays this. And then they have Noah Igbenogany sitting in the flat, and they just attack this. I don't know what he was doing here, honestly. I know Noah has always been kind of a player that struggles, and he gets a lot of hate for the Dolphins, but he is just really not good in zone. In man, he at least is usually in close coverage. He just struggles making plays at the catch point, but in zone, he just looks lost. He's the flat defender here. He's a cloud corner, and he's playing inside leverage on number 1. You can't get out leverage to the flat when you are the flat defender, especially when usually your flat defender will be lined up inside this guy, who's blitzing. That will be the flat defender, and they have to get out to the flat. He's already lined up out here, and he still just get out leveraged, give free plays. Dolphins were doing this a lot. When they were getting cover 3, they were just doing these quick outs, these comebacks, and they were just giving up free yards to the Jets. This happened 3 or 4 times in the game. Big chunk yards is just a free 17 for them because they just getting out leveraged to the flat, and that's just not where a lot of these players thrive in. The next play in this drive, the defense makes 2 big plays, but they just get pointless face masks on them. And they were face masks. The referees were definitely calling a lot of things on the Dolphins. Some of them were definitely flags, some of them were not. But these 2 face masks were huge and pretty much pointless. I mean, he gets his face mask here, but look, everyone's getting to the ball. Ingram makes a really good play initially, beating his guy. He understands what's coming off the motion, keys the pitch, throws down the tight end right there, uses his own momentum against him, then beats the fullback to the point of attack. He beats 2 blockers, makes an amazing play. Now all he has to do is not grab the face mask. Everyone here is flowing to the ball. You have 4 guys to come help, and they get called for a face mask. This is a play that this kills momentum. This would have been a huge play for the team. It probably would have, it would put them in 2nd and long. And the next play, after the face mask, they end up getting a sack, and then it's another face mask. So you just can't be having this type of stuff happening. They just made too many mistakes, too many mental mistakes. The defense really needs to step up while Tua is out. Here's the next play, the next face mask. This one was absolutely pointless by Raekwon Davis. He actually gets the sack here, which he doesn't usually get involved in the passing game, but he just grabs the face mask for no reason. He has this tackle completely secured. Ilzu Ingram, he wouldn't have made the tackle if he didn't get the face mask, but there was people there to make the tackle, so that's why it didn't matter. But this one, he had the tackle secured, and he just grabs the face mask. They work the twist. Great play by Wilkins, too, as the setup guy here, taking on 3 blockers out of this play, basically, colliding through this, and still creating some pressure in the pocket on Wilson. And then Raekwon comes around on the stunt, and then just grabs his face mask for no reason. I don't understand what he was doing here. We just can't be making these mental mistakes. Multiple flags get thrown because it was so easy to spot. And overall, really, really tough to see the Dolphins defense just make so many mental errors in the game. Just really need to improve on that because they're going to have to be the hard carry for this upcoming couple games. How many ever Tua misses, I'm not too sure. But they just need to play much better throughout the season. They haven't been playing bad. They just have not been playing consistent. This time, the Dolphins drop into a 2-high shell, running some cover 2. And they're just not able to just get off the quick passes this time with the free zone. So they force Zach Wilson to hold the ball on. Like, I would either rather have them drop deep into zone where they just can't get off quick throws right away, or bring a lot of pressure and force quick throws. Like, this time, they only bring 3 rushing. They drop deep. Don't let these free quick passes happen in the zone. Each one's sort of taken away. Here, dead. Holland's got the post. He slightly comes out of position. Or they run the post. They're playing Tampa 2 here. Roberts is deep enough to take away the throwing lane for just a second, so Wilson doesn't rip it. Then Ogba gets the pressure, forces them to throw it deep. Everyone does their job. Don't mind seeing some cover 2 mixed in here, especially with how much cover 0, cover 1 they like to run. It's just when you're running cover 3, I just don't think for some reason our guys cannot play as a curl flat defenders, especially with positions they're put in pre-snap, because a lot of them are usually lined up on the line. That one I showed earlier with Noah Igbenogany, I have no idea what he was doing. But definitely in this game, I just saw multiple times curl flat defenders. Like Andrew Van Ginkel was supposed to get like 16 yards down the field to take away a curl flat throwing lane on the comeback, and like it's just not going to happen. This was a huge play in this game, like for the Jets. This really changed everything, the momentum. The Jets offense wasn't really moving the ball well at this point. Dolphins defense really only allowed them to move with the 2 penalties. They had the safety, which got them the lead in this game. Right here, they're running cover 1, and this is just a miscommunication. I'm not sure who's covering who. Rowe is responsible for the tight end, and then clearly I think Roberts should probably be responsible for this running back, and Baker should probably be responsible for this one. But then Roberts is clearly eyeing that running back, and this one gets a free release. They do a split zone blocking scheme. The tight end works back to this side, so once he goes here, this should probably get passed off, and because Baker stops his read, sees the tight end's blocking, and once that happens, someone's got to be responsible. So I'm not sure what they're taught. This really could be on Rowe or Roberts. Not sure which one is exactly responsible, just depending on, the scheme. But you just can't be having these people run wide open. This really changed the game, and then, he gets a big play. Kohu tries to go for the strip. Ends up, letting an extra 10 yards happen. I mean, I don't mind him going for the strip in this scenario because, he's already gained 80 yards. But unfortunate play for the Dolphins. Just can't be letting these miscommunications keep happening. Dolphins running cover 1 again. I don't know why they went away from this. Like, when they brought pressure, they got to Zach Wilson, forced him to get the ball out early, has to get this out. They even have a guy open, but when you get pressure this instantly, they're running play action from under center, this is just a recipe for success for the Dolphins defense, and for some reason, they went away from it later in the game. When I watched the film, I barely saw it ran in the second half. You bring this pressure, really good job by Zach Sealer here, getting the inside. The center, or the guard doesn't slide over for some reason, or the center isn't able to get to Sealer in time. The guard slides over. It's just a miscommunication on the O-line. This is what happens when you bring so much pressure and like a bunch of people end up coming in unblocked because of that miscommunication. It's just one of the things the Dolphins defense does really well, and they definitely need to keep doing it. This is one of the downsides of cover one, is when you don't get the right away and they get the quick pass off. It puts the DBs in a tough spot, especially when Kohu is coming off the motion, so he's like late to his man here, so he's not squared up in positioning, so he has to hold. Like, his hips are opened up. He's just easy to attack to the inside. One thing that is impressive with his bad positioning, he's still able to stop on a dime, lower body flexion, change directions, and then gets hands. I mean, it's a little ticky-tacky. He does get the hold and sort of stop his momentum, but it wasn't like super egregious or anything. So it is still a pretty impressive rep regardless from Kohu to change directions like that. You do want to use your hands in the situation to sort of get your momentum back into position. Like, every DB is taught to use your hands around the hip. He just turns Wilson just enough to where he's going to draw that penalty. But other than that, a pretty solid rep. But this is, the downsides of cover one. It definitely can put your DBs in a tough spot. Like, they don't get the pressure there. Like, they run this play action, create a perfect pocket. Wilson has no pressure in the face. Kohu in the tough spot based on the motion, pre-snap and everything. And then he draws the penalty. Once it hit like quarter three, the Dolphins were just struggling to stop the run versus Breece Hall. I mean, this is just perfectly blocked by the Jets, and they also get an extra, flag on the play for a face mask. But Phillips gets cracked backed by Corey Davis. He's not able to work around it. Everyone else gets blocked. Landon Roberts takes too early of an angle trying to shoot downhill. 75 cuts him off. And then it just creates this lane. Needham tries to become the force player. Creates a big lane. And then Holland's able to make the tackle, but it's already, 11 yards down the field. And they were just picking up chunk plays like this over and over again. Jets' offensive line was executing. And you just can't be... I mean, I understand Phillips getting cracked back here, but once you get cracked back, you've got to get through the receiver. And the receiver is able to just cut him off and get to this edge. And when your receiver's creating this kind of lane on the edge, it just can't happen for Phillips right there. 4th and 1. This was like the first time they were running cover one here in the 3, 2, 1. 4th and 1. This was like one of the first reps they were running cover one in a while, and they ran it on 4th and 1, and like it just forces QBs to make quick decisions. You get quick pressure. Like, he even had the guy coming open on the out route, and instead of throwing that, he throws the back shoulder fade, the much lower percentage pass here. Needham has good coverage, even though this out route was open from number 3 here right at the sticks. Wilson isn't patient enough because of the pressure. And that's just what cover one can do to these young QBs, force them to make quick decisions, and they're not the best in those scenarios. Put pressure on these guys. Make those young QBs beat you. This could have been one of those big game-changing plays because they were still only down 2 points at this point in the game. Late in the third, Brandon Jones shows off why he's one of the best blitzing safeties in the league, if not the best. The timing, the disguise pre-snap, just times this perfectly, gets up, even slows down just in case it was, going to be a handoff. And then once he sees Wilson pull, he readjusts that angle. Really good job working off, the spin out by Wilson and still showing off that closing speed. His closing play speed is ridiculous off the edge, and one of the big reasons why he is such a successful blitzer. AVG, playing off the edge here, is supposed to be the deep flat defender, and when you're running the comeback here, this is very difficult for him to gain enough depth. This was where they were getting beat a lot in this game. Needham bails, and I think he's playing too far inside leverage. You're not being threatened by anyone else to the inside. He needs to stay over the top. Playing with a little too much depth, too. Needs to be a little tighter to this. Make this a harder window throw. Andrew Van Ginkel put in the tough spot. Not going to get back there in time. And you just give Wilson an easy pitch and catch for, another 20-yard gain. Like, you just can't be letting these plays happen. I just don't like these zone calls from the defense. You obviously have to mix them in, but I just don't like what they're showing pre-snap, like putting these players in bad positions. Last play I'm going to show because it was basically over after this. The Dolphins offense kept giving the ball back and the defense was in tough position. But this was kind of the story of the day. Guys end up running into each other on this, and Breece Hall gets down to basically the 1 yard line, and they end up scoring the next play. Just tough to see this kind of stuff, but this was the story of the day. Guys run into each other. Breece Hall gets a free, gain to the outside, flat to the right, and then it creates a one-on-one matchup for Holland. Holland at least slows him down just enough, but they still get down to the one, score then, in the next play or two or whatever it was. But just a tough tough day for the Dolphins defense. They looked pretty good early on, but the offense was struggling so much, couldn't really get anything going. Defense has to play on the field, and you just can't have the defense play so many snaps. And this, I really think the play calling was my biggest issue, going away from what makes you successful. Also, obviously, not having Howard out there changes up your defense. You have some DBs in there that maybe you don't trust as much, so you want them to be playing in those, soft zone type coverages. So that's also understandable. It's just a mixed bag of things. When you have your third string QB in there, you're going to be out on the field a little bit more drives, ending quickly. And just it wasn't a recipe success for the Dolphins defense that day. So if you guys enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.